Business news, the Kenya Revenue Authority has reiterated its dependence on tech, contact verification of business activities and reduction of tax expenditure to bridge the sharp disparity in the country's tax distribution. And TV's Brian George with the details.
According to the taxman's data, only 40% of registered taxpayers are actively remitting and filing taxes. For instance, on the corporate side, over 3,000 large and over 6,000 medium-sized businesses and corporations are contributing to the 60% of the country's realized revenue.
That is to say, if you look at the nature of the taxpayers that we have, these are big corporates, multinationals. So the nature of businesses in which they do as well deserves that they pay that fair share of taxes of 60%. But that does not mean we are not looking for taxes to be paid from elsewhere. In this case, then they do business in Kenya, and the kind of business they do, they are also making good profits, which we ensure that then as they do businesses, we facilitate them to earn a good income, but as well contribute to the development of the country.
KRA has 22.6 million registered taxpayers, of which only 8 million taxpayers are actively paying taxes. Low percentage rates in both personal income tax (PIT) and corporate income tax (CIT) reveals a structural imbalance where the tax burden is concentrated among formal sector employees. Currently, KRA is foregoing over 500 billion shillings in PIT, despite realizing 12.5 billion shillings in the last financial year, representing a 97.7% gap. Value-added tax or VAT collections potential stands at 1.031 trillion shillings against a realized collection of 653 billion shillings, leaving a measurable gap of 378 billion shillings. Current rental tax collection stands at 13.7 billion shillings against an estimated revenue potential of 80 billion shillings. KRA reports that the 66.3 billion shillings is a measurable gap, going by the realization of 16.6 billion shillings yield from closing just 25% of the regulatory and vigilance gap to net in rental tax. In the last 30 years, Kenya's workforce has structurally shifted as 6 times more workers operate outside the tax net than inside it. These informal workers and businesses are responsible for the big tax contribution divide. By 2024, Kenya National Bureau of Statistics (KNBS) reported that there were over 19 million informal workers and 3 million formally employed.
And if you look at the actual numbers, our tax to GDP right now is about 14%. We should be at about 16-17% currently. So what happens if you see the gap? The biggest gap we have for tax, it is personal income taxes. That gap is as high as 97%. Then the next is VAT gap of 38%. So all these ones contribute to the overall gap that we see. And we have moved ahead and started the journey of making sure that we've got more and more people contributing.
KRA has reported that there are over 2 million operating enterprises and estimated active businesses in Kenya. Of these tracked businesses, over 560,000 enterprises have administrative visibility. The taxman says that these businesses report an average monthly income of 49,000 Kenya shillings of taxable income outside the system. The inference then is that there is no income problem but that of visibility. This problem the taxman attributes to the fragmented technology that limits cross-agency data sharing and detection and manual processes which delay enforcement and reduced throughput. All this compounds to the existing narrow tax base with revenue concentrated on a small pool of active taxpayers.
We have started the journey of simplification. We have gone into a process of making it easier for taxpayers to pay. How have we done it? We have gone into where taxpayers are in their ecosystem. WhatsApp, USSD. These are places that now we are getting into those spaces. We are going into those spaces to help them go into their ecosystem, go into the places that they are doing their businesses and make it easy for them to pay.
KRA's concerns now trigger action to combat non-filing registered taxpayers who have not submitted returns and contribute to the largest volume gap by taxpayer count. The other lot of taxpayers earmarked are the nil filers, declaring zero liability despite active operations. KRA sees this as a revenue hidden in plain sight. The taxman will also close in on under-declaration of income or sales reported below actual levels, impacting systematic understatements across sectors. Lastly, the unregistered but active businesses operating entirely outside the tax net remain invisible to the current enforcement. As the taxman celebrates 30 years of serving Kenyans, its other fallback to meet its targets will be reducing the tax expenditures in terms of waivers and exemptions so that it can meet its targets. Brian George Otieno, NTV, from the Nairobi National Park.